This week's episode of The Grid is sponsored by Impix. Shoot today, upload tonight, we ship tomorrow. Manfrotto, imagine more. On One Software, software that gets you back to shooting. Adorama, more than a camera store. And Tiffin, helping create the world's greatest images.
Hello, everyone. Hello, sports fans across America. Sorry. Hi, everybody, and welcome to The Grid. My name is Scott Kelby, and I am joined by two extremely individual, charismatic.
Ooh. That's a new one.
I just made it up.
We usually don't get called
It's a big word. It's a gift. It is a big word.
It's usually flatulent or multi-breasted.
No, I would never say that. That's ridiculous.
It is.
I am joined by two icons in the industry. And by icons, I mean you can click on them. So first, to my left, Mr. Matt Klaskowski.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
Matt, where have you been, dude?
Oh, dude. I don't know. I feel like I haven't been on the show in weeks.
I was this close to giving the show to RC. I'm like, Matt misses one more week, and he's out.
You know, I've been teaching the Lightroom seminars on the road, and they seem to schedule every single one of them for a Wednesday.
I know. It's intentional.
When you do a live show, it's hard to
It's intentional.
To not
it gives us more space on stage. Hey, you know what, though? Matt also plays guitar. We could have done a guitar thing today.
We could have.
What?
We could have. Yeah, Matt plays guitar.
I'll have to get the dust off my trombone from high school.
Ibanez.
Oh, man, that's what we've been missing, trombone. But we are very, very honored to have in the studio as our special guest one of my heroes of sports photography and one of the greatest guys out there, Mr. Dave Bly.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Matt, for having me here.
Well, Dave, that's great.
Well, I'm glad to be on the grid, you know what I'm saying?
I love your sports announcer. Can you give me the NFL Films guy voice?
He does it good.
You mean John Facenda?
Yes, of course, John.
John Facenda. He was the original voice of NFL Films. Pretty much it's like, on the day of the most important announcement of his life, Scott Kelby approached the microphone.
Dude, you could so be that guy.
We're there.
Hey, also joining us today, as always, we're very happy to have with us all the way from France, who does not have a debt crisis. Way over there, Nancy Massey.
Oh, I have a debt crisis.
No, she's paying her bills like nobody's business. How you doing, Nancy?
I'm doing good.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, mademoiselle.
I feel like I'm wired into a phone jack and screaming into a speak and spell.
You are.
Right. That's because of our next guest. Our special guest comes to us through a small wire in our ears. So our next guest, first, Nancy. Nancy is in charge of moderating your comments. Yes. And she'll answer back to you occasionally on certain things if you
only if they're good, though.
And she runs our polls and all kinds of cool stuff. So we're glad to have you here, Nancy.
Hey,
glad to be here.
Can I say that I've been being on the road? People come up and say, "Hey, I'll watch you on the grid and this and that." You know how many people come up and actually think Nancy's in France?
They do, don't they?
They do.
It's true.
No, she's not in France unless France happens to be
25 feet across the room.
I'm going to throw something from here to
here. Let's throw the DVD.
Here we go. Watch. So watch, Matt.
Throw this.
Ready?
Oh, dude, it missed.
I think it landed in the English Channel.
All right. How about this? How about this? No, I got something better. Pete, come here. Watch. So here's Pete in America. All right. So here's Pete. Just kind of wave. Here, get in front of a camera. There's Pete. And watch, in just a split second, he jumps on the Concorde.
No, Pete, go faster than that.
Go faster than that. And then, look, through the miracle of science, Pete is over there. Okay, that's enough.
Okay.
All right.
How Concordia
we're done with them.
You.
All right, we're done with them. Hey, just a couple of things before we get going. If you'd like to join the conversation today, of course, you can do it right here on the website, or you can send a tweet to pound the grid live right
Text
there.
us at.
Text us now. Pound the grid live, and it comes into our stream. Let's see. Also, we have joining us today Eric Kuna, who's director of our video operations and a very, very smart guy. And he and I were discussing this topic yesterday.
Ooh, look at him.
Hey, Eric's in the control room.
Dude, he looks like he's in the Millennium Falcon or something.
He's in the Millennium Falcon.
Look at that guy.
That's what we do.
Is that Chewy? No, sorry, Jen. Oh, that was. Sorry, that was so not Chewy.
It wasn't.
All right. Anyway, hey, Matt, you are on tour right now.
I am. I have one more Lightroom tour coming up for the rest of the year. It is on December 1st in Philadelphia.
In Philly. Hey, I'm going to be with my tour, Light It, Shoot It, Retouch It, coming up this Monday. Come to San Francisco. Be with me. Feel the love, the incredible love that I bring with me.
That's not how they talk in San Francisco.
Doggone it. Anyway, I'll be in San Francisco. I would love for you to come. It is this coming Monday, which is like the 13th?
14th.
14th.
And then you're in Seattle on November 21st.
Yeah, I'm in Seattle. So, yay. There's a couple of cities I haven't been to in a little while, so I'm very excited. Tell your friends.
Hansi's in Seattle.
Hansi is. I'm having dinner with Hansi.
Ooh,
hey,
dude,
one more
Asian
thing.
place, sorry.
Okay, one more thing. Right now, while you're sitting there in front of your computer, will you send out a tweet and say, hey, come watch the Grid Live, Dave Black's on. So thank you guys for helping us spread the word. Hey, we have some prizes at the end of today's show.
Ooh, good.
We're going to be giving away one of Matt's DVDs, this one right here.
A slightly bent version of it. From
slightly bent
flying
version.
across the room.
From flying across. It was actually a prop on the show.
Dude.
And the DVD is?
Mastering Color.
Mastering Color.
Photoshop Mastering Color.
And then we're also going to give away a one-year subscription to Kelby Training Online, which is you teach on Kelby Training Online.
I do.
You teach on Kelby.
Not
I
well.
do. Well, none of us do, but anyway. But yeah, you've got some great classes. Your Action Sports Flash.
Oh, people love that
People
class.
lose their minds over that class.
Good.
You are he's unbelievable.
Good.
A lot of fun.
Good.
A lot of fun. We learned a lot on that one.
All right. Hey, one more thing. Next week, we've got a wild week for us next week. So next Wednesday, our in-studio guest. Is this right? Is Joe McNally, or we're doing a webcast? It's the webcast. Nancy's nodding. We're doing a webcast with Joe next Wednesday night at
6 p.m.
At 6 p.m.
Eastern.
Cool.
6 p.m. Eastern to launch his new class called A Day with Joe McNally. And I was there because I kind of hosted like you and I did the
Very
other day.
cool.
But I was much better with Joe because he needs it. And he's just totally kidding. Joe is amazing. It is one of those days where you learn so much. It was really great. So then the following day, Thursday, we have Jeremy Cowart here in the studio, and all we're going to talk about is a special bonus episode. In this bonus episode of Blossom.
Now, when you say following day, do you mean following day as in tomorrow, or do you mean following day
Next
after
Wednesday, we have Joe McNally for here for his webcast, free webcast, and we're going to show his entire class for free, one time.
Okay.
Wow. Then Thursday, we are going to be here with Jeremy on a special episode of The Grid. So we'll do Wednesday Grid and Thursday Grid next week. And if you want to learn how to be on... to be a part of Help Portrait. You got to be there. Jeremy Cowart will be answering questions and stuff too, but that's tomorrow. Okay.
Great.
Now, next we're going to our segment today. Oh, we have our new bonus thing, of course. Our new bonus thing is ask us really personal questions as we squirm in our seats. And then our topic for today, our main topic, which is perfect for having Dave here because he's just as old as he could possibly be, is are the classic masters of photography, and I'm thinking people even older than Dave, which is...
Do they get that much older?
Really old.
No. Are the classic masters of photography, like Ansel Adams and Harrell and guys like that, are they relevant to today's young photographers? We have a very interesting topic. I hope you'll join in the conversation after this short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back here on The Grid. Dave Black, Matt, two guys, and...
Hey, I'm Jeremy Cowart, and I hope you will check out my new class at kelbytraining.com. We talked a lot about locations, and making the most of one location without having to go drive around to multiple places. We made maximum use of very simple setups. Making the most of a very simple location. We only use one light. Several setups from the same location. I think you're going to learn a lot of cool stuff using minimal lighting, minimal locations with maximum output. So hope you enjoy the new class at kelbytraining.com.
Hey, we are back live with you. Scott Kelby here with Dave Black.
Good to be here.
Dave.
Good to be anywhere.
Great to be here. And Mac Laskowski. Hey, we were just mentioning, we just saw the Impix ad run by here. You know, they are a sponsor, which I just like to say, I love you, Impix. But in the little ad, I saw one of my shots go by. The guy holding the frame thing was holding one of my shots, and Mac goes, that's my shot of Moab, which only leaves one person.
Ooh.
Oh, sorry.
It's an age thing.
Sorry. Hey, Impix, they are our sponsor. We love them. They are a print lab. So if you want to get big prints done and you want to have them fast, you know that if you upload to their site by 11 a.m. in the morning, you'll get a big box, because you know when you buy big prints from them, they ship them flat. They actually come flat, and they'll make them big. They go to 24 by 36. I mean, they go pretty big.
Perfect.
They do a great job. If you're not that great at color correction, like.
Hey, I got a DVD.
You should watch it. Anyway, totally kidding.
Here,
they will color correct for you. And again, so we were actually at Impix's headquarters a few years ago. We did an episode of Photoshop User TV Live there. We went into the room where they color correct. Remember that?
Oh, God. I always tell people about that.
It was. And they have this little...
It's like a hand thing. It's got
red, green, blue.
Yeah.
And these people just go, an image comes up on screen, they go... And their color correction was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's 3 sliders. How do you do that? But you know what was weird? So you're sitting in a room with like 50 monitors, right? And there's all these people just color correcting. And every once in a while, all of a sudden you'd see a stream of naughty pictures show up, right? Because people, they would send naughty pictures to, you know, like pictures of an elk or something. Anyway, running with no clothes on. Usually elks, but, you know, sometimes caribou. Anyway.
Don't they usually wear shorts or something?
Well, there was some spandex. Anyway, hey, we wanted this topic. I want to tell you how today's topic came about, because it's kind of weird.
Weirder than naked elk?
No. It's actually very appropriate with naked elk.
Caribou and spandex.
I saw an article, and I wanted to look up where it was. I want to say that it was on PDN's blog, which I really like. The PDN Pulse blog, I think, is very, very good. And I'm watching, I was reading, and I'm almost sure that's where it was, but, you know, maybe one of our crew will look at it and see if maybe that's where it was. But they had this article kind of where people were kind of poking fun of Ansel Adams, young photographers. And I remember reading it, and they were kind of basically going like, that guy is so played. I mean, oh, really? Another landscape? I mean, that guy did like, that's been done to death. Please don't show us another shot of Yosemite in black and white, you know. And I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, well, first, they're not really getting it, right? It's like, you know, the reason why people take pictures of Yosemite is because of Ansel Adams. But that being aside, and Ansel Adams, what he did for photography is so many levels deep. But anyway, so my first reaction is to get a little angry. Then
settle down.
Then they had a YouTube video where more young photographers are making fun of Ansel. I'm like,
you're kidding.
Yeah, but I started really thinking about it, and I'm starting thinking, well, you know what? Like, I went to, I taught it a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago, I taught at the Great American Teach-In, where you go to a high school for a day. I taught for 5 different classes, and I asked in every class who's ever shot a film camera. Out of all 5 classes, 1 single kid had shot film.
Wow.
And so I started thinking about it, and I don't think that today's kids really have any respect. And one of the reasons is they don't know who they are. If you went down, now, I want to just say this, not kids that are in school for it. If you go to a photography college, if you're taking photography in college, you're going to have to take a class on photography history. They want you to understand and respect those that came before you. But I think if you went to, you know, you see some of these photographers out there that are 19 years old, 20 years old, 21 years old, taking amazing stuff.
Awesome, yeah.
Awesome stuff. And you go and ask them about anybody other than Ansel Adams. And what you'll say, who inspires you today? And they'll go, oh, well, the work of Jeremy Cowart.
Joe McNally, yeah.
They're inspired by today's photographers. They're not looking backward. You know, they're really inspired. Who gets their motors running are because they don't want to go shoot Yosemite. They don't want to shoot black and white photos. They don't want to, you know what I mean? They want to shoot the overblown, you know, lens flare look and all these different things that it looks are today. And on some level, I can't blame them. But I want to ask Dave Black, you know, So how do you feel about today's photographers? Not even not showing respect or going back, but not even knowing who they are. Is this really hurting them? Do we need to be doing more to help them, or would it be just a waste of time?
Well, it certainly works to their advantage, I think, to know the work and process of the great ones that have all come before us. And that goes across the board. It doesn't just apply to photography, but in my field, which is usually in the sports industry, I think you could come up to a lot of New York Yankee fans, and they wouldn't even know who Mickey Mantle maybe was. And it always surprises me when young people, and I would say, high school, college, and maybe just out of college, they don't go back and study some of the history. Studying the history and the great ones and understanding how they made great pictures is like learning fundamentals. It's like learning the basics. If you can conquer the basics and you understand the basics, how they work, and then you can build on those basics by layers and layers of more basics just get put on top of it, right. Then you arrive at the point where you're creating your own style and you're shooting where maybe there's some flare coming in, or you're shooting in a tilted or Dutched frame or something like that, and you start getting your own style, so to speak. But I think in order to have your own style, you have to understand the fundamentals and where those fundamentals come from, and oftentimes that's going to take you back to the Ansel Adams of the industry, no matter what genre it might have been.
But what about these guys that David, and I'm not disagreeing with what you said, but there's some photographers that, for whatever reason, they just have it. You know what I mean? They didn't learn it from a book. They didn't learn it at school. They're like, I got an email from a kid today, 15 years old, who's shooting all this corporate work. And I'm like, he's still in high school. He can't drive a car. His mom has to take him to the shoot. It's like, what?
Well, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was going to say, I think one of the things is that when you look at some of the greats from the past, I don't think their photography necessarily, like if you're a 15-year-old kid or you're a 20-year-old kid, and the photography you see that you want to create is not necessarily the photography that they created.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of black and white. The lighting from 40 or 50 years ago is dramatically different from today. In fact, so much of it, because everybody's into portraiture and lighting and small flash lighting and everything like that. So if you take that group of photographers, what do they have to go back to? They don't really have anything even similar to go back to, because what they enjoy shooting was not really around, or even, there's nobody to even go back to from 50 years ago.
Sure, and I think there's just a loss of appreciation of what those photographers did.
I know, but that I think might be what the thing is. I think that on some level, we want these other photographers to know how hard we had it. Not like I ever really had it hard, but I shot film and that was hard. But don't you think that that's also some of this? Like, we want to go, well, dang it, we had to be in a dark room and mix chemicals, and you kids, you buy this camera, it's great out of the box, you look at the picture and it's fine, you're blowing out your highlights.
Young whippersnappers. But I think that's human nature to a degree. I mean, just to parallel to somebody, and we all have these parallels. When I was in college, I pledged a fraternity my freshman year in college, and all I heard from the older guys was, "You pledges have it so easy now. Back when I was a pledge, I had to do this." And I was like,
"Say it like this? Back when I was a pledge."
But, and I swore, I was like, "I'm never going to do that." 4 years later, the freshmen come in, I'm like, "God, back when we were pledges, we had to get up at 4 o'clock,
and eat nails."
But everybody does it. I mean, no matter what the job is, no matter what the profession is.
Well, I think to try and make somebody feel like, gee, you can only appreciate where you are today if you had to pound the pavement and drag yourself through high water and so forth to get someplace. I don't know that that's necessarily. I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't try and look at photographers and say, "Gee, you have no appreciation because you never had to do manual focus."
Right.
But there are people that do.
There's people that feel that way.
And that's I don't think. But that's hopefully that's not the direction to go. It's like the advantage of having autofocus today is a tremendous advantage, and I certainly use it.
I don't know how you shot
every single time I go
with
out.
Manual focus. I'm serious. I don't know how you did it.
I can't even imagine.
Seriously, I'm like, really?
Well, it was something that ended up essentially separating. I did a lecture in California a couple of years ago, and we talked about where photographers. Why the marketplace is so saturated today. There's so many people doing photography. I said. And I looked out, and there's 400 people in the audience, all of them college age. And I said, 20 years ago, there would only be about 60 of you sitting here. But today, there are 400 of you sitting here. Now, why is that? And I said, there's a good chance that reason is because 20 years ago, when it was manual focus, manual exposures, everything was done manually, it was beyond where some people could go. I said, now, unfortunately, that eliminated, I think, a lot of great minds from photography because they could not autofocus them, you know, or manual focus. They could not figure out fill flash or something like that. Today, those things are easier for us to handle and understand, and thus it opens up the whole marketplace to a lot of great photography minds who we maybe wouldn't have known 20 years ago. And that's what's so great about it.
Can I say something? It doesn't matter.
Of course, it's your show.
It doesn't matter what you do from this point out. That whole thing covered. You're covered.
I'm covered.
You're good for the rest of the show.
I'm good.
Great.
Let me get my bottle of water up.
It's opened up because what
you
you're
can relax. You're gold.
Because now you get to be. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Now you get to be. I'm going to step up in a second because there's a comment I want to read. So I'm going to.
Oh, good.
I'm going to just make it seem like it was my own.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, because you get to be creative and you don't have to worry about the technical as much as it. But here's one comment. I think David O, and I think he nails it for what we were talking about and how a lot of photographers.
Yeah.
He says, I think most of us are hobbyists and have never studied formally, hence we have no idea who the classic masters are. And I think that falls into, you know, you're out there on the road teaching, I'm out there on the road teaching, and I asked the question, and there's a lot of advanced hobbyists out there, people who are really passionate photographers.
Very serious about it and very good.
They're very good, but they didn't go to school for it, and it's not their primary means of income right now. And so they don't know. They were never taught any of that.
Wow.
But I would also say that if it's your hobby, if you have a hobby, then you're really into it. Just get on the internet and start looking around. Start just Google some of the topics that you're trying to get into and so forth. And names will start coming up.
You know what you find there?
You know what you find there?
Joe McNally, Jeremy Cowart, Dave Black.
All right, now, so Dave, I'm going to ask you something in a minute. I'm going to give you a moment to think about this. I want you to marinate, but I just want you to know, before I ask you this question.
Going to marinate?
I want you to marinate. Okay. But before you ask this question, I want you to know you're already gold for the show, so if you drop your bomb on this one, nobody cares.
Okay, I'm good.
I want you to think of who you consider to be the classics that everybody should know about. Now, don't have to answer now because I want to tell a real quick story. Think about it for a moment. Let it marinate. All right. So I know that some of you were thinking, how
He's
can
marinating.
How can people today? How can these kids today? How can these kids today not know the ones that came before them? And here's what I want you to think. And this, honestly, this is so true story I'm about to tell you. I'm at my seminar in New York. We have a woman that's helping us up front with the seminar, checking in people. She's been on the road with us for about a year. I remember right where I was. I'm walking across the street from the Javits Center, and I make a reference, and I said, "Oh yeah, that song reminds me of one from The Boss." And she goes, "The Boss?" I said, "Springsteen." And she goes,
"Who?
He was what?" "Bruce Springsteen." And she's like,
The Boss.
The Boss. And she's like,
I got nothing.
I've never heard of him. I'm like, "You've never heard of him?" And I go, "That's like saying you've never heard of U2." And she's like,
Who?
I'm like, my mind is fried. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You know, what about Bon Jovi?" Nothing.
Sounds like a happy guy.
And so I start going, no, it was a woman. It was a woman. Oh. I start going through all this stuff. And finally I go, "The Rolling Stones." And she goes, "I've heard of them. What song
It's
did
a good
they
magazine.
do?" No, she goes, "What song did they do?" I said, "Well, they only had one hit. They were a one-hit wonder." But
Was it the British woman?
oh, it was not Jackie. No, this is years ago. She's not on the tour anymore. She's
okay.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, and that's why I said, if you don't know who Bon Jovi is, get the hell off my set. No, but anyway, it was. If you think people don't know that they're, these, and she's really plugged in. If you mention bands from today, she could tell you every band. She's like she was the female Brad. She could tell you every band, what songs they play, who wrote them, and things like that. Hey, I want to read a couple more comments, and I want to hear from Eric Kuna, because Eric has got a great angle on this about today's kids and how they look at things. I'm going to read a couple. I can't really, Brad, can you pull the monitor over just a hair? Or is that really right? Oh, his name is Ad Guy. I thought it was like Sad Guy or Bad Guy. It's Ad Guy 31.
It's
Sorry.
Naughty Guy 31.
All right. How can any documentary or street photographer not be affected? Be affected
or marinated
by Bresson, Frank, or Strand? You can't know where your photography is going unless you know where photography has been. Their images are not only relevant but timeless. I agree that their images are amazing.
But go ahead.
Say it, Matt.
But I disagree with you. You can't know where it's going until you know where it's when, because in order to paint a bedroom, I don't need to know today, and I don't need to know how somebody painted a bedroom 60 years ago.
Yeah.
In order to fix a car today, I don't need to know how they fixed a car 60 years ago.
If you go to Full Sail over in Orlando, which is an amazing, learning facility, you go to Full Sail and say, I want to learn to be an audio recording engineer, right? Do you think they're going to walk you in a room and go, you know what you need to learn first? Reel-to-reel recording. Here's a reel. Here's another reel, the tape. We're going to wind the tape here. You'd be like, why do I need to learn this? Oh, well, because this is the way it was done back in the day. It's the history. And if you learn reel-to-reel recording, that's going to help you today when you're digital. No, it's not. And you know what? I know I'm going to catch a lot of crap for this. I kind of feel the same way about schools that are teaching black and white developing today. You're never going to do black and white. And if you do, just like saying, do people still buy albums made of vinyl? Sure they do, but is that where the market is? Absolutely not. Do people still shoot film cameras? Sure. Do people still shoot the big view cameras? Some people do. Joe McNally shoots that giant walk-inside Polaroid, but that's not where the market is. And if I sent my kid to school at Full Sail and they said, we're going to spend this next semester working on reel-to-reel, I'd go, we got to find a new school. Yeah. And I would almost now, I want to hear your thoughts on this, Dave, because you're angry. But an angry man.
I thought I was marinating.
No, you're marinating on that.
Oh, okay.
So keep your guys in check. But what do you think about that idea of you go to, what do you think about teaching black and white developing black and white images? What do you think about that whole idea?
Let me. Can I address the gentleman's question that came in? Like. Ad guy or whatever it was.
Ad guy, yeah.
Naughty guy.
I think to understand something about Cartier-Bresson and how, and I'm going to really sort of turn this back. He had no autofocus. He had no auto exposure. He had no motor drive or motor wind or to advance the film. It was a single moment in time captured. And I think while maybe the black and white printing of it and being in the darkroom of it maybe doesn't have to be applied today. I'm not saying it doesn't apply. I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily have to be applied. There's something about when you understand how his images were made, and he is sort of the father of the moment, capturing the moment, then instead of relying on a motor drive or film advance rate of 9 frames per second to help me achieve a moment caught in time, I have to rely on anticipating that moment. I have to study the situation that's coming. I have to be totally aware of the environment and everything that's going on around me, and that will help me. While I may not need a single frame to do it today, I could use 9 frames to get it, but I would understand how to assess the situation that's coming up and anticipate something is going to happen. Someone is going to step into that shaft of light. Someone is not only going to step into that shaft of light, but then they're going to have to jump over the puddle, a.k.a. Cartier-Bresson, the man jumping over the puddle. Was he going to make it? Is he not going to make it? It gives you it's that decisive moment that pulls you into the picture. And I think by understanding that with the great ones, and that certainly goes back to Bresson, that if you understand that a little bit, much the way if someone went back and studied, you're into music as well and guitar playing, so Les Paul. I don't know anything about it, but Les Paul was a guitar player. Am I right?
He was. He made a guitar, a very famous guitar. Lived the Gibson Les Paul.
There you go. And so if you somehow understanding a little bit about how these gentlemen looked at music, and in our case looked at photography and how they came about their craft, how they honed their craft, I think it does aid a student today into capturing the moment.
Okay, but now picture this. I'm a photographer. I'm in Cincinnati, and I shoot bands for a living. I shoot portraits of bands. How do I see that? Your croissant guy here. That was just for effect. Just for effect.
Brad's over here. Brad's about to be like, oh my God.
Don't send letters. It's just a joke.
Just send emails. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So your guy, Apple Fritter, did. So how do I'm a 20-year-old photographer in Cincinnati, and how do I apply his work to what I'm doing? You know what I mean? And I think that's what they're saying. You know, that they're and Warren Sapp. This will put it in context, because I really think that there is a lack of respect. It's not just, I don't think that they have anything to teach me. I think it's a lack of respect. Warren Sapp is a phenomenal photographer, a classic photographer. No, Warren Sapp was a defensive.
I'm thinking he
was a defensive end for the Bucks, and now he's a commentator. Warren Sapp had a great thing, and he said the new rookies coming into the NFL don't want to hear anything from the guys that have been to 10 Pro Bowls. He's like, they come in and they go, "Hey kid, so here's what you need to do," and they're like, "I got it. I got this covered." They don't want to hear anything to do from the old guys. These guys that have this wisdom, and that's why I want to jump over to Eric, because Eric and I were talking about this yesterday. And Eric works with a lot of kids. He works in a youth group, and we were talking about that respect that these photographers have lost. So it's not just they don't know who they are, but even if they know who they are, so you don't think the rookies on the team know who Warren Sapp is? But Eric, can we jump to you real quick and just talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you know, we were talking yesterday, and I was saying that, you know, I find that, you know, the younger generation, you know, and I'm in that younger generation. We tend to have problems with that respect thing. The older generation, they have the problem with the word, I would say, relevance. You know, that there's a lot of things that, you know, just don't apply nowadays. You know, but yet there's stuff that we need to respect. You know, I work with a lot of youth, and you know, over the years, you know, I'm amazed by how many of them come back to me and say, "Wow, I wish I could have just listened to you the first time, rather than failing 10 times." So I find that, you know, if we could just, you know, like I said, the younger generation could learn the word respect. The older generation can kind of learn the word relevance, because, like Dave was saying, you know, you don't need to, you know, experience all this, you know, dark room stuff, all this stuff to really appreciate it and respect it, but you can respect it. And that's, I think, my point is you got to show respect.
Yeah. Well, Eric, you know, my son is into the band Disciple, and they're like a heavy metal Christian band. You know Disciple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they're a really great band, and do I have to go to my son and go, you know what you really do? You need to listen to the Beatles, because without listening to the Beatles, there's no way you can really appreciate Disciple. Well, heavy metal band.
And that's where, you know, I think there's a lot of people that think that, but the reality is you don't have to. It's not relevant nowadays. It's irrelevant to that generation. I mean, stuff's changed.
Okay,
I mean,
well, right. So Eric, there's my point. If the stuff has changed for music, if it's changed for recording, like you wouldn't want to see your kid go and do a class on videotape. Why then, when it comes to photography, we say, wait a minute.
You have to shoot film.
Now it's different. It makes perfect sense for music. You don't have to listen to the Beatles to appreciate Disciple. Oh, yeah. And I could play the Beatles. Now, I do play the Beatles. My son really actually likes Paperback Writer. But that's his song.
It's a good song, yeah.
Paperback is a great song. And Back in the USSR, he likes that one as well. But do you have to know the Beatles to appreciate them listening?
It's a great point.
Okay, so that's what I want to say about photography. Why it's changed different when it comes to photography? Because we really care about photography. And we want them to look back and enjoy those things. You know, every time that I have a birthday or Christmas, you know what Brad buys me? He buys me a book of phenomenal photography. He gives me books on portrait artists and different people, and he's trying to make me better. He's like, just look at these for 5 minutes. Your stuff doesn't look anything like this. And that's what the card says. Please, I'm begging you, look at this stuff. No, but, and I look at them and I'm just like, it's exciting and it's depressing. It's amazing and it's inspirational at the same time. But that's what I want to bring it around to. So I want to read some questions. But is that really what it's about? But before we do that, I want to take a short break. When I come back, I want to hear who you want to talk about, and then I want to get a bunch of questions off of our thing. But I want your classics coming up after the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. More Eric Kuna, more Dave Black, more love. My name is Scott Kelby. I'm a photographer. These days I'm shooting mostly sports and portraits. I love photography. I love the light bulb that just comes on
when you teach somebody something new about photography and they realize their photography is going to get better. It's just such an exciting thing. I've also been a magazine publisher for many years. I'm the editor and publisher of Photoshop User magazine. When I get to the end of a photography magazine, I'm on the last page, I want to grab my camera and run out and start shooting. And I think that's what's so amazing about the power of magazines. So I thought, why not do it right? Why not build a magazine from scratch that is designed to be for the iPad? That you get to take advantage of things on the iPad that you could never do in a print magazine. You can take things to a new level and help people learn photography and lighting in a way they never have before. And that's why today, I'm so excited, so proud, so psyched to tell you about a brand new magazine created exclusively for the iPad called Lighting. It's a magazine that teaches you lighting. And we have some of the best teachers and some of the hottest up-and-coming teachers in the world today. In a magazine like this, we could give people some real moments to be inspired. We could give people a chance to see a picture grow and develop. We could teach them to use flash and studio lighting in ways they never thought they could do before, even better than they've ever done before. And luckily, we have the pleasure of working with the world's best photographers and instructors. What if you got to listen and learn from each and every one of them, all inside one magazine? That's my goal. That's what I would love to be able to do, to find another way to shed some new light on photography. I hope that this magazine takes your lighting to the next level. I hope that this magazine makes the light bulb go on for you. And I really hope that when you get to the last page of this new magazine, it makes you grab your camera and want to go run out the door and just shoot.
Sports Chat. Dave Black.
Sports.
Matt Kliskowski. This weekend's game. San Francisco or the Giants?
Giants.
Didn't they used to be the San Francisco Giants? That's what stopped you, isn't it? You're old enough to know that. All right.
I had to think.
Hey, we are back. Scott Kelby here with Dave Black, our special in-studio guest, Matt Kliskowski. We've got Eric Kuna with us also back in the control room. Nancy Frenchie is here. Hey. Pete and Brad are standing by, helping us also. Hey, we want to read some comments, but before we do, Dave, you had a really great point, and Brad just kind of wrote down, we just both said the same thing. Brad just wrote, the way film was developed 60 years ago doesn't matter, but the photography that made 60 years ago can still be relevant. Okay, I agree. I'm not disagreeing, Brad, but can you write me a sentence on how while Dave is answering this? Dave,
yes.
Classic guys.
Are you marinated?
Who should they be looking at? Have you marinated properly?
A little bit, yeah.
Right.
You know, of course, trying to listen through everything else here going on. William Allard is certainly one of my absolutely all-time favorites. He still photographs for the National Geographic, and gosh, I'm not sure how long he's been there. 50 years, possibly. His books are outstanding. He's not only a great photographer, but he's also a great writer. He has written a lot of the books that he's published have also been books that he has written. And I think you just go back. I mean, I go back and I just flip through. I've got 5 or 6, books of Bill, and I just flip through them, several times a year. And I'm not a documentary, even though I do documentary style coverage with my sports sometimes, I'm not a documentary photographer where I would go into the field and do a story on the Mormons in South Utah or something. But that's something that Bill would do. And I mean, I think just to study his pictures today are just so great today. If they were just taken yesterday, you'd think, wow, look at that. That is so great.
Okay, who else we got? Because I want to make sure we get enough time to read a bunch of comments. We're about to. Walter Yost. Come on, say Walter Yost.
Oh, sports, so I can talk about sports? Sure, yeah, Heinz Klutmeier.
Heinz Klutmeier.
Heinz Klutmeier.
I love Heinz.
I once told Heinz, I just thought he was the Roy Hobbs of sports photography. Roy Hobbs was the character that was the Natural in the movie The Natural, with Robert Redford, and Roy Hobbs was the character there. And I thought because he was the best that ever was, best that ever is going to be, and that's the way I looked at Heinz. Heinz could do it all. Heinz was great. He was just great at anticipating the moment, great at follow focus manually. He could manual focus, through the old days. And he made that transition into today's era, easily. He just slipped right in there and is still producing pictures today for Sports Illustrated. Lighting the way Heinz would light. Just I always admired what Heinz would do when he'd come back from any game. I mean, if you wanted to know where to be, just look to see where Heinz was on the field. Yeah. You just get right next to Heinz and you'd be in good shape.
I'm a huge fan of Heinz Ward. Okay, Brad says, I agree that no one needs to know how to develop black and white film because digital is here to stay, but that doesn't mean you can't find inspiration. Now, there we go. Inspiration from photographs that were made 50, 60, and 70 years ago. If you see something that inspires you, why should it matter when it was made? Very good, Brad. Brad's quite a good writer. We want to read some of your comments real quick here, and then I'm going to let Dave Black marinate on something else. Go ahead, Matsky.
All right, so Steve says it's always important to see what those have come before you have done to learn from them. Doesn't matter if it was film or plates, composition, subject, story, technique are all still relevant.
I agree with that. Absolutely. Good one, Steve.
Believe pullover. Good pictures are timeless. Like the masters, the right spirit and craftsmanship never dies. Very definitely.
Okay, but you know what? Our topic really isn't did they take good pictures back then. It's really, it's like to these new photographers, these young guys coming up, is it still relevant? Because it's disappointing to me personally that more people don't know, and I don't know a whole lot about it. I did not. If you don't go to school for it and take a class on photography history, Brad has been incredibly arrogant to Matt and I on numerous occasions. I kid you not, when Brad does this, he'll walk into my office and go, "Hey, that reminds me of the shot by Wiesenstation," and Matt and I'll go, "Who?" And he goes, "You don't know who Wiesenstation is?"
Yes, we're that stupid.
Yes, we're that stupid, Brad. And Brad goes on. You know why? Because Brad did take a course in it and all. So Brad looks at us like we're idiots because he went to school for 4 years, all about.
I've never had a day of formal education in it.
I know.
Neither have I.
Brad constantly.
Neither have I, Matt.
We constantly.
I didn't go to college.
Hey, Catchlight Photo says many hobbyists and amateur togs, and that togs is short for those shoes you wear, probably have been influenced by. Nobody laughed at that. That was good. All right. It's many hobbyists and amateur photographers probably have been influenced by seeing the works of those masters, but did not realize where the influence come from. They emulate the concepts and techniques without their concepts and techniques without thinking about it. But fundamentals are boring. We don't want to learn theory. We want to shoot like McNally today.
And well,
the reason Matt McNally can shoot like he does today is because he knows.
And Joe
he knows the history.
Stuff. Yeah. He did.
Can I read this comment because I want to comment on it because I think it can tie into that. So Jacques. Is it Jacques or Jock? Jock says, "Are you serious? Is Thomas Jefferson pertinent to today's government? Is Walter Cronkite relevant to today's journalists? Is Einstein to today's science? Chuck Yeager to aerospace? I studied all the classics and photo classes in college during the 60s. So, and I think it ties into what we were saying about Joe. So Joe is good because he studied all that, but I think it's kind of been melded into what people learn. So while they haven't learned that Thomas Jefferson said this about politics, they're being taught what all of the masters of politics have been taught. And all that information's kind of melded all into that. So I don't think they're necessarily learning the names of everything as long as they're being taught the concepts of composition and color and all these different things about what we need for photography. Doesn't matter who it came from.
Well, what I'd like to think is that if you look at the work of, we'll call them the masters, the great masters of the past, those pictures are still successful today. Someone who is a photographer today can look at those and go, that is a beautiful portrait of whoever that might be. And I think if you're into your craft, if you're into it for the long haul, not just the immediate gratification, not just because I'm a photographer today or for these next 4 or 5 years, and then I'm going to move on to something else. But if you're into it and this is your chosen field and this is what you're going to be doing, then I think when you study and you go back and you look at some of those, and I think Jacques hit it right on the nail there. Really, it's just, are they relevant? And I'm thinking, they are, because you would want to go back and take a good look. I mean, don't you, when you get these books, don't you want to look at them? Don't you marvel at them and think, how did he do that? Now,
absolutely.
How was that done? And how, why is that attractive to me today? Why do I look at that picture and go, man, I love that portrait. Why do I love that portrait? If you can figure out why you love that portrait, then you have opened up a road or a doorway that allows you to improve your own portraiture. Now, there are, I do sports predominantly, but lighting is a big key to the kind of work I do. I wouldn't say I'm a portrait photographer, but I do portraits of athletes and owners of the ball clubs or whoever it might be. And I always look at I am not a landscape photographer, but when I watch Moose Peterson's pictures come up, either in book form or in magazines or at Photoshop World when he does like a show or something, I absolutely marvel at how he sees nature, just the same way as I can look at Ansel Adams' work and go, absolutely stunning. It's stunning then, and it is still stunning today. And I would like to think that some of my pictures are going to stand the test of time, not because they were just a moment in sports history, but because there's something graphically pleasing. There's something about them that's going to hold people into them for a long time. I think Joe produces those kinds of pictures. I think William Allard produces those pictures. I think Jodi Cobb with the National Geographic, I think she produces those pictures, certainly. I mean, her book on geisha is unbelievable. It is just a beautifully stunning book of the study of geisha. And that's what you kind of hope for. And I think too often today, and don't get me wrong out there, I'm not trying to be critical, but young people tend to live in the moment. They live right in the now, and it's hard for them. And I think maybe when they get a little older, and I'm sorry to say that, but you will get older sooner or later, you're going to get a little older, and then you will probably find yourself looking back and going, I've done this. How can I continue moving forward? And sometimes to continue moving forward, you're going to look back. If you don't think that great athletes don't look back and study the swing of a golfer, of the Arnold Palmer who came before them, or the Mickey Mantle, or the Lou Gehrig that came before them, or the Joe Montana that came before, they study those just like game film. And it's like something is going to register in there. Something will click. It doesn't mean they have to know how the football was made in the factory.
Right.
But how did Joe Montana somehow absolutely tear defenses apart with these short passes?
Steroids.
How did he do it?
No, I'm just kidding.
Joe on steroids.
Totally
Never.
No way.
But it was like that. I mean, to me, I think that's where it is. And sometimes, I mean, when I go to colleges, I try and encourage them, look at where did I go speak? I went and spoke someplace, and I threw a couple names out there. And I had blank looks, and I turned to the instructor, and I said, what are you teaching them here? And all of a sudden it dawned on me, oops, maybe out of place.
Yeah.
But then I thought, no, it is in place. Because the instructor was only probably 37.
He probably didn't know those names.
Exactly. And I said, get in there, guys. This is easy research. Just go down to any Barnes & Noble and just start pulling books off the shelf.
Yeah.
And you'll just go, here's somebody I've never even heard. Look at those portraits. Absolutely beautiful. I wonder if I can incorporate that somehow into my own style.
Yeah.
So can
we're gonna run out of time. I want to make sure that we answer. Go ahead and answer yours, but just make it. Make it short.
I'll make it very quick.
Something.
So Dave, part of it is, and I don't think this is generation of today. I think this is every generation that comes up.
Sure. That's true.
I think I think when if you were 18 in the 70s. You were the same. You didn't look back 50 years before then. You looked at today. So I don't think this is limited to today's generation. And I think you're absolutely right. I think when you hit that point, you go there. There's a certain point where you hit and you say, "Hey, I'm past that. And now I am going to go look at the Masters."
Time for reflection.
But when you're young. You just want to do it. Yeah, you just want to do. I want the golf swing. I want to hit the ball 350 yards. I don't want to dissect anybody's swing. Just show me how to do it.
I want to look at Phil Mickelson's swing. I don't want to go back and look at Arnold Palmer's swing.
Yeah.
Right, but you'll find you'll find yourself going back. If you listen to the, gosh, where was I was watching
Phil Mickelson looked at Arnold Palmer. That's right. You can bet he did.
I mean, I was watching some, program on the Golf Channel maybe about 2 months ago or whatever, and they were interviewing the young upstarts, the guys who are in their 20s, the below 28 crowd, so to speak. No interest in what came before them. Repeatedly, that seemed to come up. Yeah. No interest in what came before them. But I'll guarantee you, in the next 10 years, they will find themselves going back and studying. They'll go back and they'll realize, okay, it's not so much about me, and I'm the hot hand right now because I have a lot of strength and I have great eyes, I have great vision, and all these kinds of things. But at some point in time, some of those little parts of the body start to diminish a little bit, and that's like, how did Palmer survive so long? How did Jack Nicklaus win a Masters at, what was he, 42 or whatever he was? Yeah, I mean, you go back. Yeah. Now, the sooner you decide to go back, I think the wiser you are. Right? The sooner you go back.
Yes, you have done well.
All right, comments.
We're going to go to Eric Kuhn in a minute, so Eric, stand by because I want to talk to you one more time. Go ahead with some comments there, Ski.
All right, Monaco, I think the classic masters are important. Their pictures are classic for a reason. If you're an up-and-coming photographer, can be inspired by what we consider classic today, then their work may become classic and inspire the next generation.
Monaco, very nice.
Little G77, it's called evolution, period. So Glenn Dewis.
Hey, Glenn.
I have complete and utter respect for legendary photographers that have laid the path for us to walk, but if I'm honest, I don't look back at their work for inspiration. It's just a personal thing, but no mistaking their work is legendary. Some people speak of Ansel Adams and refer to his zone systems to sound cool and to justify whether their work looks the way it does when all they've done is just convert to black and white without any other thought. Ask them what the zone system is, and they'll think you're taking Latin.
Or talking Latin. Either one.
So this is a good one. You're gonna get this one. David Hodgins. Does it stop with photographers? Ever used Rembrandt lighting? He wasn't a photographer, but still uses technique.
Thank you, David.
True.
Very good, David.
You know what, though? That's a whole nother topic.
We
were talking about lighting patterns.
Yeah, because lighting is changing so fast that I don't think in 10 years you're going to hear the word Rembrandt lighting unless you're in a classroom teaching the history of lighting.
Yeah.
Nansois.
Holy cow, it is crazy over here. There's just a whole lot of comments flowing in.
Okay, now, Nancy, I'd like to sometimes ask you, what's the general vibe of the comments today?
You know what? I have no idea.
Right.
They're coming in so fast. I'm like super speed reading and just approving them.
Nancy, do you need me to come over there and kind of take over? Because
he could catch a flight over to France.
I have some experience in this, Nancy, and I like to think I did really well. So.
Oh, you were fantastic.
We have some more comments.
We got 10 minutes left.
Yeah, we have some more comments and things. We're going to read a couple more here. Donald Page says, the masters before us had people before them who shot on daguerreotypes and cyanotypes.
Oh, that's a preset in Lightroom.
That's a preset in Lightroom no one's ever used in the history of Lightroom. The medium changed, but they still learned from people before them. I love old masters like Joey L. Very good. Kay Stoll, which I think is Kevin. I think it's Kevin Stolmeyer.
It is.
I show my college students a SciQuest disc to show them how far media has come. Then I destroy a USB drive to show how fragile it all is. 2. Dave Black is the biggest reason a mentor matters. His story at Photoshop World was so inspirational. Mm-hmm. Very good, Dave.
Thank you.
We're going to read a couple more comments. Mr. Kuna, are you standing by there in the studio?
Yeah.
You made a point, we were talking yesterday about one reason why today's kids are so good. Like, it took us a while. You had a great theory on why today's kids at 15 and at 16 are doing such amazing things.
We're living in a different world. We're living in the information age. I mean, we're getting inundated with images and video and all this stuff that we couldn't get before. I mean, we literally, we're seeing stuff that, it took, people, like, say there was a photographer that was big in Russia. It might take, 100 years ago, 5 years before you'd hear about that in America. Literally, I can go like tonight and hear about that photographer. I can see a video from a person who makes great videos in, Australia, and we're getting inundated with these images, and that's helping, I think, to speed up the process of talent.
Yeah, Eric, you made a good point yesterday. You said that kids today learn in 1 year because of YouTube, because of online training things like Kelby Training Online. Son of a gun, did I mention that? .com, that you can have in your house. You don't even have to go to the library. All these people teach you, and you can learn in 1 year. What did you say? 7 years?
Oh yeah, at least. I mean, you know, if you really put your mind to it, I mean, you could definitely you could accelerate your learning because it's so accessible. And it's never been accessible before. I remember growing up having to, say, "Hey, Mom, when can you take me to the library? Because I need to figure out how to do this project." I mean, nowadays I've got kids. I see them. They're, on their iPad doing research for the, through the Wi-Fi to, research their project, and they're coming up with stuff that I never had access to.
Yeah.
And it's so quick. It's so quick. So I mean, we're just living in a different world. That goes to that thing of relevance. That I think in the world we live in today, you have to really kind of judge, what is relevant, what is not. Now, I think definitely that there's inspiration in work, and I think that there's an artistry to the work. But I think what's changing now is, I know in our field, like video, because I'm not a photographer, but in our field, and it's the same for photographers. They're artists and they're craftsmen. They're the same thing, they're one thing, but most of the world looks at us as technical people. But really there's an artistry to what we do. And once you learn the craft of it, the artistry is really where you start seeing people shine. And I think there's more talent out there nowadays because people are getting inundated with all these images, and they can see work from all over the world just at their fingertips.
Right, you can see the work in great galleries on the other side of the world that you'd never be able to visit. And so yesterday what you said really struck a chord with me. The kids today learn in 1 year what it took us 7 to 10 years to learn before. And that's why they get so good. The equipment's so good. They're learning so much. They're learning it so fast. And that they're so much more sophisticated. The young photographer today is so much more sophisticated than those old guys were. Like Dave Black, who's 102,
Well, it's a lot easier for them to shoot because they're not holding onto a walker, or something like that, like we are. You know what I'm saying? So they have that distinct advantage.
It also goes back to what Dave said, which is a lot of the technical obstacles have been removed. Sure. And now you can just be creative, and so that creativity comes out.
Hey, we're going to run our poll. Nancy, you got a poll for us today?
I most certainly do.
And we're going to introduce our next section, which is called, what is our next section called? It is Ask Us Really Personal Questions. Now, Matt wasn't here last week, which is why I wanted to make sure we did it this week. And Dave is here to ask personal questions. But Nancy, we have a poll.
Yes, I just want to say something about the poll really quickly. Okay, so everyone says the poll is up for 2 seconds and it goes away. Huh. Here is what happens. The poll comes up, but then what it does is it'll switch the view. So suddenly you'll start seeing the results. But if you look back on the bottom, you can change it back to the voting view. Now, I know anyone that's a trusted user should at least count to 30 before you vote, because I think when people are plugged into the live blog as a trusted user or as a moderator and they vote quickly, that will make the poll go away.
Oh, by the way, if you're wondering, what's a trusted user? It's not you.
Yeah, if you're wondering what that is, it's not you.
Are you speaking Latin, Nancy Bratton? All right, so the poll.
All right, here we go. You guys ready?
Yes.
All right, there it is.
Should we read the poll?
Yes, please.
All right. Are the old masters still relevant in today's new up-and-coming today's up-and-coming photographers? A, more than ever. B, somewhat relevant. C, hardly relevant. D, their day has come and gone.
Oops, I typed more than ever.
We can't take a break because...
All right, no, we've already done that. So, hey, I do want to mention, before we get into this very personal stuff, we want to mention one of our other sponsors, because they're very, very important, On1 Software. They're one of the people that help make the show available to you guys. They just released their brand new On1 suite, their perfect suite. It is insanity. I was out in Portland. I got to see a demo of all of it. They showed all of it. Now, parts of it we know about it because we worked on it and stuff.
They sold like crazy at my Lightroom seminar on Monday. They sold like crazy. People were eating it
blows
up.
people away. They have a part of it. They have. I mean, it's all based on kind of it actually can be. It's a standalone product now or a plug-in for Photoshop or Lightroom, whatever. But they have a retouching thing in it that most of the automated retouching stuff has been really kind of lame. I think that theirs is the best in breed out there as far as...
because as far as the eyes and the mouth and teeth.
Actually, I'm sitting there watching that after I just wrote a retouching book, and I'm going, I'm never going to mention this plugin exists, but I just did, so stupid mistake. All right. Hey, so welcome to our new segment called Ask Us Really Personal Questions. Oh, before we do, go to on1software.com. Download their demos. Check it out. There it is, the Perfect Photo Suite 6. It is now available. They've been showing things for a while. Go watch their videos. Go watch their stuff. You'll be amazed. On1software.com. We love you. All right, now it's time for a new segment called Ask Us Really Personal Questions While We Squirm.
Ooh.
Now, when we did this last week, there were about 100 questions. As I look to the screen right now, there are 0.
Yes.
So
They found out everything.
Starting to come in. I was just
Okay.
going to end the poll
All right.
really quickly.
So I wanted to ask, I'll
There
ask
we go.
Dave a couple of them.
Oh, here we
Dave,
go.
we can just start with you.
Uh-oh.
So boxers or briefs? Just kidding.
There
Okay.
go all of my questions. Thank you,
Boxer
Scott.
briefs.
Here we go. Here's one for Maddie. Matt, besides your St. Patrick's Cathedral shot, where Matt bent the rules a bit and took a lot of heat for it on his blog, lightroomkillertips.com, when else have you bent or broken the law for a shot? Matt.
Ooh, thank God they put for a shot.
Oh,
at
okay.
the end of
Matt's
that,
got a very
because
sordid past.
It was going to be a long answer. I was in Paris and I shot. What did I shoot in Paris?
The Louvre,
No, not the Louvre.
the Eiffel Tower,
No, the other church
the
there.
Arc de Triomphe, the Sacré-Cœur,
The other
Notre
church.
Dame.
The
Notre
Dame.
Notre Dame. Sorry. So
the other churches. There's only 2 in Paris. You know, you
So,
take a
I'm
beat.
I'm trying to help you over here.
I looked everywhere when I walked in for a no tripod sign, and I could not find it. So I went in and I took my tripod in and I took my shots. And sure enough, I posted about it, and all these people started taking actual pictures, and it said, "Yeah, the no tripod sign's right there."
Yeah, but you didn't really.
So I didn't technically break.
Can I tell you where I see photographers breaking the law all the time? When you're like out on a photo walk or something, and there's a piece of private property, everybody goes walking over there. Everybody's they're climbing through windows of buildings. There's what is it called when you climb through a window of a building that's not on your property? Breaking and entering. I see that so often. I'm like, really? Okay.
I might have done that too.
All right, Ad Guy 31 has got a question for me. Taylor Gibson or Martin acoustic guitar? I have a Martin acoustic guitar. I'm not a Gibson guy. I'm a Fender guy. I have almost all Strats or double cutaway type guitars. I have a Martin acoustic, but I really don't play it very much because acoustic guitar I've learned is very hard. Another question, Scott. How can we never see your kids? I actually have a very, very good reason about this. My wife is very kind of a private person. She really does not want pictures of the kids. I actually had a stalker that did very weird things, which was very weird and unfortunate and expensive. And so my wife doesn't really want me to put pictures of the kids. Here's the kids, you know. So she's very, very protective about them, and I am as well. So I don't really show them on the blog. I really don't show them anywhere. But I have kids. I love them. They're awesome. I have 2 of the greatest kids in the world. I would love to tell you all kinds of stories and show pictures, but because of that reason, we don't. So there you go. Matt, what made you take up Taekwondo?
What made me take up Taekwondo? Ever since I was a kid. So I started, I took it for like a year when I was 9 or 10 years old. And I liked it. And the 2 instructors in my school got in a fight with each other. And I remember riding my bike to school one day, and the front door was open, and we all walked in, and the school was just in shambles. It was torn apart, and then they closed. And then a school never really opened up in my town, and the rest of life came, and I never really had the time to do it. And then finally, I was doing a lot of running in my 20s and 30s, and it started to take its toll. So my kids started taking Taekwondo. I went to the school. I watched the instructor teach, and I was like, that's the school for me. The way that he taught just instantly made me want to go and start taking it again.
And plug your school real quick.
It's called Cocobanis Taekwondo. It's in Tampa, Florida.
There you go. All right. Let's see. We've
Question
got
to the panel.
Glenn
Doug.
Lewis. Question to the panel.
Question to the panel. If the sky was the limit, what would be your dream assignment to shoot?
Dave.
Ooh. I've always wanted to do an entire season of Formula One. I've shot Formula One and NASCAR and Indy before, Indy 500 and so on, but I've never done an entire season. I would love to do an entire season, a documentary book, all on Formula One. Grand Prix, my favorite movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mine would be, I'm torn between shooting the Super Bowl or doing a portrait of like a famous quarterback, like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Josh Freeman. soon to be famous. Jay Cutler. All my favorite teams. So, but I think that'd be a dream assignment for me, being able to shoot them on location, though. I don't want to do it on my white seamless. I want to do it on location.
Cool.
I can't think of anything.
We'll come back to you then.
Yeah, come back to me.
All right, Hansi, I apologize for stalking you. It wasn't you, Hansi. Hansi. All right, Christopher Arnold Designs, a question for Scott. Other than yourself, who's your favorite Photoshop guy or gal? I like a lot of people. I really like Calvin Hollywood.
Yeah,
The guy's got the freaky detail like you
Calvin.
cannot believe. If you get to watch Calvin, you will be amazed at what he can teach you. Calvin is just a great guy. He's very, very good for Photoshop. I always love to listen to Julianne Cost. I can sit in her class and just crack up and learn at the same time. Julianne always knows something I don't know. Ben Wilmore is another one who, every time I sit in one of Ben's class, I learn something new. And it's always about something I've been using forever. You know, like Ben will show you some new thing about curves that you know, like did you know if you click and then there's a menu pops out and you're like, what? And this, you know, so he's very, very good.
Can I answer for you?
Yeah.
Up and coming, I think Joel Grimes.
Oh, Joel Grimes.
And Joel doesn't ever bill himself as a Photoshop guy.
No, he's very good.
I mean,
yep.
You know, Joel very clearly uses Photoshop, and like I said, he doesn't bill himself that way. But man, he's really good at
Very, very
Photoshop.
good.
He's a good one.
Yeah. So I mean, somebody good. It's a really tough question. We're gonna have to wrap it up here in just a minute. We're gonna have some giveaways. Nancy, I'm gonna read a couple more questions, but I want you to be working on the giveaways and how we're gonna give them away. So just like you're not shocked, I'm coming back to you in 60 seconds.
Okay.
Let's see. Did you ever have to kick someone out of a class you taught? Dave. Oh no, it says have. Okay. Have you ever had to kick someone out? No, but I did get heckled at a class. Guy heckled me from the back of the room like 15 minutes into there. And I reached in my pocket to get the money back and held it up. But no, I've never. That was a rare situation. But no, let's see.
Why don't we wear contacts? So Dave.
Why don't we wear contacts? I can't stick anything in my eye.
Why do we wear contacts? Oh, I tried. I live in Colorado. It's very dry climate there. And photographers don't tend to blink their eyes behind the camera much. So it just dries your eyes out. Contacts did not work.
I can't do it. I can't stick things in my eyes. I'll freak out.
I've worn contacts since I was like 10 years old, and I still wear them. I still wear them when I do activities, and
They look
even when I
pretty
get
big
on
on you
camera.
right now.
But my eyes tend to get dry, so I don't wear them when I don't have to.
And when his eyes water, he starts doing this. Okay, let's see. Scott, how'd you get involved in the orphanage in Africa? So two people from my church, Molly and Joseph, had been doing a lot of mission work locally. They went to Kenya, met these children, found an empty piece of land. They came back. They sold their houses, their cars, every possession, and they moved to this empty plot of land, and they built an orphanage. And so I was so inspired by that they would give up everything to do that I wanted to support their cause. And the people on my blog have done amazingly well. In fact, the photo walk we just did raised $7,000 for the t-shirts, and Rob Jones from Towner Jones Photography just pledged that for everybody who buys a t-shirt from now to the end of November, he'll kick in another, I think it's $5 a shirt. He wants us to get to $10,000 for the orphanage. Because the orphanage, it's built, and they did a beautiful job. And it went from an empty plot of land to a beautiful orphanage, but you have to feed these kids. You have to, and new kids come in and new kids come out, and they have to feed them. They have to clothe them. They have to have shoes. They have medical care and all. There's a constant need for money at the orphanage. So we do things all during the year. My Crush the Composition class, we raised almost $3,000 doing that. So we're doing, I'm speaking at Google on Saturday, this coming Saturday. I'm speaking at Google just for Google employees, and they're making a contribution to the Springs of Hope. So that's kind of how it came. Let's ask one for the panel. If you could shoot anywhere in the world that you haven't already been, where would you go, Dave Black?
Gosh, I can't.
Oh, probably the Arctic.
The Arctic, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good. I wouldn't have even thought of that.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you seem so warm.
It's just gorgeous. I mean, I've seen friends. Bob Smith just did a book on Antarctica, and it's just stunning. It's just beautiful, and I thought that could be pretty cool.
That's nice, man.
God,
Not the Palouse.
Not the Palouse. Thailand, maybe. India. Couple. You know, I always love the Asian architecture. Just everything. Japan, China, but Thailand is a place I've always wanted to go shoot, and India.
Yeah.
Scott?
Bartow, Florida.
Ooh,
no,
yes.
I think I would. Eric liked that one.
There.
I think I would. Believe it or not, it's not so much that I want to shoot there, but I've always wanted to go to Moscow. So
you'd love
and
it.
I would shoot there, of course. I mean, there's but I think I just want to go to Moscow. I'd also like to go to Prague. So I'm kind
Australia.
Australia, New Zealand. I don't know. I want to go everywhere. I love travel. Matt, who would win in a martial arts fight between you and Vanelli?
I'll go with Vanelli.
Yeah, Vanelli, he's a bad man.
Vanelli, yeah.
All right. Hey, the clock
Vanelli's
has
been doing this
stopped,
a little
Brad.
longer
the
than
clock
me.
Has stopped. What does that mean?
Nancy, that's what I mean.
That means we're over.
No, we're not over.
Running on empty?
No, we had like 3 minutes. All right, Nancy. How are we giving away, Stefan? What are we giving away?
Okay, we are giving away a. You want to do two, one for Twitter and one for comments,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to give away a copy of Matt's Mastering Color DVD, and we're giving away a year of Kelby training.
Right.
So now the way that we always do the giveaways is people that watch the show they do enter stuff on Twitter, and that's how you can win. But also after the show rebroadcast goes up tomorrow, you can leave a comment, and that is also a way you can win. But if you are going to win on Twitter and I have to pick the winner, then you got to earn it. So what I want you guys to do is make your commercial for the grid and make sure it links back to the grid and it uses the grid live, and the most RTs I see will win the year of Kelby training. So you got to be really clever so people will retweet you. So I will keep a running tally, and the most RTs wins a year of Kelby training.
All right, and you're going to give us some winners like here shortly for the live broadcast? Yes? No?
I can if you would like.
Oh, I don't care.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Hey, look at that software.
Hey, here's
update
our poll real quick. Are the old masters still relevant? 49%. More than ever. Very good. 36% said somewhat relevant. So we'll take that. 86% said they're either somewhat relevant or more than ever. Only 3% said their day has come and gone, and 10% is hardly relevant. So really, almost 89. Oh, wait a minute. I'm saying 80, 86%, 85%. Either somewhat relevant or more than ever, and 13% basically said.
The overwhelming majority.
The overwhelming majority. Hey, we're going to have to wrap up the show here. A couple last things while Nancy's grabbing those. Dave Black, where can we learn more about you? Because you're a beautiful man.
Well, on Kelby training, actually. I've been starting to do a lot of stuff for you guys. You and I just did a football game. I can't wait for that video to come out.
Dave had a great idea, and this was your idea. I want to give you credit. Dave said, you know what? A lot of people don't get to shoot college or pro football because the access is so tough. Why don't we do a class on how to shoot a high school football game under high school football lights? And last Friday we did it, and you were amazing. I learned so much. I took things that I learned from you that night at the high school game and applied them at my Titans-Bengals shoot on Sunday.
Oh, good. Oh, we had a great time out there.
Although I didn't do great on the whole shoot, the things that you taught me about, I think I did much better. I really felt like, even though I wasn't thrilled with everything I got, the things that you taught me, I think those areas I improved in.
Cool, buddy. Way to go.
Blow it up. So how about your website?
www.daveblackphotography.com, and click on Workshop at the Ranch.
The Workshop at the Ranch is brilliant. If you really want to learn some stuff, I've been going there for years. I mean, that's kind of, I think, where I fell in love with you was that, and over a bottle of wine and that.
There's something we should know about you guys?
I think I'm still marinating.
You are marinating. Okay. All right. Where can we find out about you, Mr. Kloskowski?
You can find me over at lightroomkillertips.com. That is my Lightroom blog. And Google Plus, just Matt Kloskowski.
Yeah, just ask for Matt.
Just ask for Matt. MattGplus.com is my Google Plus thingy. Facebook.com/the Photoshop guy. Just Google me.
Google it. There you go. I'm at scottkelby.com is my daily blog. You can find me on Twitter, Scott Kelby. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/skelby, like Skelby. And I'm on Google, which I love. Love Google Plus. I think it's the coolest thing for photographers ever. And it's free. Go to, what's my thing? Will they bring up all over Thursday?
Scott G Plus.
Scott G Plus.
ScottGplus.com.
There it is, Scott. Oh, no, there it is on G, that thing right there.
It's kel.by/on G plus, and the G is capital.
And the key G is capital.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Nancy. Hey, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you,
Who are our
sir.
winners? You got some winners for us?
Well, you know what? I picked a couple winners from the live blog, and no, I did not pick any of the people that said, I don't use Twitter and I'm not clever enough. Sorry. But here's the thing, because it's a live blog, I really don't know how I'm going to get in touch with you, so hopefully you are connected to me on Twitter so you can find me. I picked to win the year of Kelby training.
Yeah.
I picked someone, because I like the name, Unky Monkey. No idea who you are.
Unky. I like it.
Monkey.
And then to win Matt's DVD, I picked Westlight. And again, I guess I will try and figure out after the show how to actually find these people.
Good luck, Nancy. All right. I do. Oh, also, if you want to donate to the Springs of Hope, We'll put a link on the blog where you can go buy the T-shirts too. But if you want to learn, and you can donate directly to Springs of Hope Orphanage in Kenya, it is springsofhopekenya.org. So go see them. Dave Black, thank you. You were awesome today.
Thank you, Scott.
Blow it up, Dave.
Fantastic. Blow it up
here, buddy.
One more time.
Ba-boom. Hey, don't
Brad,
forget.
thank you, sir.
Also, don't forget, you can watch us. If you want to watch the rebroadcast of the show, just go to kelbytv.com/thegrid, and we'll have the show up.
All right.
tomorrow.
I have 30 seconds left. I'm going to read something that Brad wrote. Are the classic masters of photography relevant to today's young photographers? Yes and no. Does a photographer who's just starting out need to know about all the photographers who have come before them to be successful? Absolutely not. If you want to be successful, you need to be able to produce amazing work, market yourself, and have business savvy. Knowing what the late Robert Capa took out, knowing that, I think, no, what the date Robert Capa took the picture of the falling soldier isn't going to be key to landing a client today. That said, I would argue that a photographer who is starting out right now also doesn't need to know about current photographers in order to be successful. If you have the creative vision and the knowledge to execute that vision and all the other stuff listed above, then the work of other photographers shouldn't matter. However, I know very few photographers who do not find inspiration in the work of other photographers. I find as much inspiration in Jeremy Cowart's work as I do Jean Milly.
He did that on purpose.
He did. I know he did. He's such a punk. Both bodies of work show a unique creative vision that is all their own. Why discount one body of work or the other because of when it was created? If it's inspirational, it's all that matters. Very good, Bradley. Hey, thanks to Mr. Eric Kuna for joining us over in the control room. Thank you, Mr. Kuna.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. And thanks, everybody here on the set. We'll see you guys next week right here live on The Grid. Take care, everybody.
See you.
Adios, guys.
Stay fly.
This week's episode of The Grid is sponsored by Impix. Shoot today, upload tonight, we ship tomorrow. Manfrotto. Imagine more. On One Software that gets you back to shooting.
Adorama, more than a camera store. And Tiffin, helping create the world's greatest images.